This is Aaron Freed with Blue Ribbon Flies in West Yellowstone, Montana. And today we're going to be tying our tie of the month for April. And we're going to be doing a streamer. And we're tying on a shank with a trailer hook here. This is a Senyo's micro shank in 23 millimeters. And going ahead using a 6/0 brown Semperfli wax thread, getting a nice good thread base down on that shank. Close off those loops, and I've got a trailer hook already rigged up here. This is a small Senyo's intruder wire and a TMCO 785 hook in a size 8, and just kind of go ahead and get that on there, just kind of loose to start. Try to keep that kind of on top there. And then I like to keep just a little ruler or tape measure around. I know you can't see that, but I'm putting it right at about 1 3/4 inches from the eye of the shank back to where the hook's at. And then I just kind of work back over that wire, wrap forward right to about where that return wire ends, and then we're going to fold this back, fold the other side back, wrap those down nice. And usually at this point I like to just take a little hunk of foam and put that on that hook so I'm not stabbing myself for the rest of the time we're tying the fly. Get a nice solid base of thread over that wire, and then I like to, just for good measure, put a little zappa gap down there, and then wrap back forward over top of that one more time, just to really get everything locked in. Alright, we're going to tie the fly just on the front half of the shank. You can use a shorter shank if you like. I like to just have a little bit longer one, just for a little more area to wrap that wire down. So we're going to start with the tail of tan Arctic foxtail, and I like to lay this in so it's about a 1/2 inch past the hook in the back. So my whole fly is going to be about 2 1/4 inches or so. And then for the butts, I like to trim this on a little bit of an angle, just so when you wrap it down you get a little bit more of a taper and less of a big bump right there. Alright, and now we're going to tie in take about 3 strands of, this is a Semperflash from Semperfli, in the warm gold color. I'm going to tie in about 3 strands on one side, and then fold it around and wrap it back. So I've got about 2 to 3 strands on each side. Trim that about the same length as the tail. Alright. And now we're going to use UV polar chenille, 2 different colors. We're going to start with gold, and usually cut a piece about, section about 2 inches long off there, and go ahead and make a few wraps of this right in front of your tail. Kind of try and sweep those fibers back as you're doing that. About 3 wraps or so, that gold on there. This does get a little bit bulky under here, but it'll all be covered up when we're done. And go ahead and trim that tag out of there. So we've got a little collar of gold. We're going to use some rusty copper as well. It just really kind of layers the flash, adds a few different shades in there. I think gives the fly a really neat look in the water. So same thing with the copper. rusty copper, tie in a little section of that. Try to get 3 wraps or so in there. Kind of sweep those fibers back. Go ahead and tie that off. These things get a little unruly, but go ahead and just sweep them all back. Wrap a little bit over the base just to keep them all flared back nicely. If you have any extra tag in there, you can trim that out too. Alright. Now to finish the fly, we're just going to use a brown saddle hackle, or you can use schlappen. That works really well if you have that too. I've left some of the fluff on the base of the feather there. Usually just clip it right where the stem starts to get kind of thick, where you can't really wrap it anymore. But get that flash out of the way. Get that feather tied in good. And I like that fluff on that feather, just really gives it a little more body. And we're just going to go ahead and wrap that collar, keep sweeping those fibers back, and wrap right up to the front, to the eye of that hook. Got a piece of my flash stuck in there. There we go. Get that tied off, and then we're just going to pull everything back. Go ahead and form the head of our fly. Finish. We'll get the end of that saddle hackle feather out of there, and then just go ahead and glue the head of that fly. And that, don't really have a name for this right now. We're just calling it the polar spey for the moment, but it's a really good swinging fly for in the fall, the spring. Just a nice, simple design. Even with the shank and the trailer hook, really doesn't take all day to tie. Go ahead and get our foam out of there now, but provides a nice silhouette in the water, but isn't weighted. It's very easy to cast. Usually like to fish it on a sink tip, but yeah, that's the polar spey.